Hello everyone. Today I would like to present you a case of Chechnya within the Russian Federation as an opportunity to utilize various concepts associated with federalism, ethnic division, and secessionism. At first, let me introduce the article derived from the Atlantic News publisher, where victims of the Dubrovka theater seizure share their memories and desire for retaliation. Decade after this terroristic attack, people still cannot reach out justice and punishment for those who are viewed as real murderers. Let me briefly tell you what happened in the theater that night. A group of terrorists led by the son of the first Chechen war veteran, Movsan Barayev, attacked the theater right during the play. Their main demands were to make Russia withdraw from Chechen lands and stop the Second Chechen War. Barayev threatened to blow up the theater with nearly 900 hostages inside if his demands remain unheard. However, Putin refused to lead any negotiations with terrorists, and during 5 days hostages were kept inside the theater. So the later plan developed to disarm Islamist militants would shock most of you. They used an anesthetic gas which was later developed by the KGB that would knock out terrorists and allow Russian special forces to storm the Dubrovka theater. However, the effect of the gas spread onto the hostages as well. As a result, even though 14 Chechen terrorists were killed, up to 150 hostages died in the aftermath of the anti-terrorist operation. They died out of choking, suffocation, and of being pressed by the corpses of other dead people. What is really hard to swallow is the refusal of the authorities to provide a working antidote or the components of anesthetic, knowing that the cost is measured by people's lives. However, the situation really helped to unveil all the weak points of the Russian system and show how self-defeating it can be given the conditions. So now when you got acquainted with one of the most horrific terroristic attacks in Russian history, I want to give you a short overview of the Chechen Republic's background. Chechnya is located in the North Caucasus between the Caspian and Black Seas. Russia did not want Chechnya to separate because it is located on the vital trade routes and oil pipelines which are essential for Russian economy. However, Chechen realized that the language, culture, and religion were very distinct, what alienated them from Russian mainland population. So they were striving for gaining their independence. However, interestingly, but Chechen people are divided along ethnic clans and religious lines even within Chechnya itself. For example, even if we take the case of religion, Islam, it has many branches within it, such as Sufis and Wahhabis. So the most of the Chechen's population consists of Sufis. However, during the period of Islam radicalizations, Wahhabis started to constitute over 10% of the Chechen population. There are also important key dates that might be helpful in analyzing the dynamics of Russian-Chechen relationships. It all started with the civil war of 1980s and to 1920s, where Chechnya did not want to associate itself nor with the Tsarist regime nor with the communism. They were calling for independence at this time already. However, later this denial to submit to the communist regime was enough for Stalin to accuse Chechens of being pro-Nazis. During the Stalinist period, hundreds of thousands local population was deported to Kazakhstan and died due to unbearable living conditions. Eventually, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, the chaos took place and many states that constituted USSR started to gain independence and draw their border lines. The same aspirations were shared by Chechnya. In September 1991, Dudayev, a charismatic Chechen oppositioner, seized the power and became president. His main goal was to gain independence and separate from Russia. Also, at the beginning of his presidency, he claimed to pursue the democratic visions and make Chechnya independent democratic republic. However, as you might see, his power was far from being legitimate, and even though he received a great amount of support from Chechen nationalists, the minorities were completely undermined. As a result, in July 1992, Ingushetia separated from Chechnya and rejoined Russian Federation. Yeltsin became highly preoccupied at this period with the growth of opposition power and Dudayev's acceptance of any proposals besides the full independence. So Yeltsin made his first attempt to seize Chechnya, but that was a fatal mistake, and his military troops were surrounded in the airport of Grozny and returned back home. That was a real humiliation for Yeltsin and destroyed his reputation for the rest of his presidency in the eyes of Russians. On the other hand, Dudaev received mass support from the Chechens, and his position as leader became more solid after this victory. Later, he announced that direct presidential rule would completely eliminate the role of parties in parliament. However, as it can be seen, the First Chechen War was inevitable, and after the bus hijacking at Mineralny Vody, Yeltsin started his military coup. So, even though he managed to succeed in it and the fall of Grozny happened in January 1995, the situation in Chechnya was highly unstable, and this political vacuum gave a rise for the foreign Islamist influence and banditism become a new reality. As a result of this, in July 1998, Shamil Basayev took over the power in Chechnya, who was leader of Chechen's Islamist opposition group. Together with his companion Khattab, they decided to attack Dagestan in order to unify two Islamic states. However, with the following aid of Russian forces, they were defeated, and the start of the Second Chechen War did not ask to wait for long. So, from August 1999 to April 2009, under the slogan of war against terrorism, Putin led this war. However, what is interesting, the Second Chechen War gained more popularity than the first one. According to the poll, nearly 70% of Russian population, they voted for the continuation of war in Chechnya. And they were not really advocating the war due to the support of Dagestan, but because of the series of terroristic attacks that happened in Russia at that time. For example, Dubrovka Theater was one of them, while in the following years it happened in school, Beslan School, where hundreds of kids were killed during the terroristic seizure. So, as a result, in 2005, Ahmad Kadyrov became a leader of Chechnya, who was chosen by Russia. However, in the next year, he was killed by Chechen militants, which showed that the situation is not resolved yet. So now let me introduce the basic concept that will help us to analyze the situation which erupted in Chechnya. So, ethno-federalism, secessionism, partition, self-rule, and ethnic mobilization can be of high utility. So, let us analyze the Chechen's case applying the theory of secession-inducing and secession-preventive mechanisms. Federalism might accommodate and at the same time worsen ethnic divisions, so-called paradox of federalism. Within the federal state, a recognition of the minority groups can lead to the effect of so-called freeze identities, when minority groups strengthen their internal cohesion and develop the we-them mindset. That logically results in the continuation of the desire to lead autonomous lives and support the divided system. Moreover, federal institutions can easily incentivize people to support the mobilization movement and as a result accomplish secession. Paradoxically, but federalism is also viewed as the tool for unification of ethnic minorities and promoting democratic norms. Managing differences is how scholars define federalization. In fact, taking into account Chechen case, liberal realist approach reveals that the possible separation of Chechnya has all the evidence to lead to the anarchy and completely alienated from their democratic aspirations. Moreover, it can provoke further backlash within the separated state because, as we remember, for example, under the Dudayev's presidency, minorities such as Ingushetians or Russians were unwillingly entrapped inside the new secessionist state. Eventually, that would lead also to the emergence of a liberal and intolerant regime even within already separated state. Also, I would like to talk a bit about the will and capacity as the main tools. Dudayev was confident about Chechnya's ability to lead self-sufficient political life again because of his strategic economic position. The raw resources as well as processing plants were allocated on its territory, which shows that aspirations for self-rule were also motivated by the economic potential of the country. Also, it can be stated that dealing with uncodified factors such as economic disparity and cleavage structure can serve as secession preventive mechanisms. For example, satisfying separated groups, creating the security umbrella, or regulating policies that will serve in favor of the ethnic minority population, what is Chechen in our case, might help to prevent secessions in the aftermath. Also, maintaining diversity within these states in order to prevent consolidation of the power and mobilization along the ethnic theme, or as in our case, religious theme. And the last one is keeping international boundaries intact. However, what I found highly contradictory in this case study is the institutional design, because according to it, the number of subunits becomes a predictor element in terms of secessionist moods. The more subunits in the country, in the state, as in, for example, in Russia, there are 21 states within Russia, the lesser the possibility for secessionist moods to arise. However, interestingly, despite of the fact that there are 21 states within the Russia which exist as autonomous states, and there are some cases of successful autonomous states, for example, Tatarstan, yeah, the strive for independence is still strong in Chechnya. So let me finish my presentation. I was really happy to share. And the only question which I would like to ask you is whether the First Chechen War could be prevented and how. Thank you. Goodbye.